So the information we're fed isn't just, like I said, about social justice. It's right to the core of finances. Now I know what people have told me this over the years. Oh, but the data. And I said, yeah, the data. Just look at the data. And yet we are operating under a different condition. But I've also learned from clients that are bank presidents and from those on the deepest of the inside that it's fake. So much of our financial information is fake. And the debt and the excruciating debasement of our buying power is unbelievable. And we know that. What this buys you today compared to what it used to. But look at this right here, just to give you the first image of it. U.S. gross national debt, it did jump $1.5 trillion in 12 months to $22 trillion. Of course, to us, we the people, that doesn't mean anything. Oh, a trillion, so what? It is going to hit you square in your buying power. That's why it matters. And you better believe when you go into retirement, this is the biggest thing with retirees. When I was a financial advisor, we know. The biggest issue for retirement was always inflation. What does our dollar buy you? I remember when I was young and I used to go to the homes of retirees, and I was selling at the time. I was working for contractors and doing roofing or siding, different things for homes. And I remember them saying, I used to be able to roof that house for $1,500 and now it's $45. They're not keeping up. Now, their financial advisors have them in bonds collecting interest. Of course, most of it today is less than what we're getting, through inflation. It's supposed to keep up, but it doesn't. So the biggest problem we have is that long stretch between 60 and when we die. And that buying power, because most of us won't be producing a whole lot at that point. And what we're seeing in not only the debts, but the expenditures and the global, it is real. And they will have a reset, meaning these currencies are going to something's coming. And if it's the war, which is very reasonable, global war, I don't know if it's Russia or China or both, just know it's all part of the big setup. And in the end, it's all pushing to one direction, and we all as Christians know what that is. But this is a chart showing you, since 2013, we hit the debt ceiling, we hit the debt ceiling, we hit the debt ceiling. All we do is keep raising it. We just keep raising it. We had a debt ceiling because it was supposed to tell us this is way more than we can handle. We really should make some adjustments. And we're still not doing it. I really contend even President Trump, he's doing a phenomenal job economically. There's just no doubt his ideas rule, but it gets in the way of the elites, and they don't like that because he's ruining their cash cow. And hence you see in the deep state fight. But this is really bad to the buying power of future buying power of we the people. We wonder why millennials and Zers think the way they think. It's because they can't afford anything. They can't afford the basic rent to have a car, to have insurance, to have clothes and food and do what they need to do. Off salaries they're getting paid. It's not anything more than this is not buying you anything. It's not that health care is more expensive. It's not that rents are high or a shirt or clothes are expensive. Of course, sure, they're faking us when they do the adjusted, quality difference. So the blender you're buying today is kind of similar to the price you paid 20 years ago, but the parts and the quality are 90% negative. That's why to get a blender we used to be able to get 25 years ago, you have to spend $300, $400 and get a Vitamix. Because that was the good old-fashioned Westinghouse blender, what it used to do. But instead, you see, it's called stealth inflation. And in stealth inflation, they erode our ability to buy by diluting this through policy. And we can't stop it, but we can be on the right side of the fence. We can be in alternative assets specifically like this, being our constitutional biblical money, that will gain in value no matter what the price is today. I could care less. It's fake. Even that's fake. They're called derivatives. If you knew what was really going on in this market, you would be full on going in and owning physical if you really understood the market. They're not telling you the truth of it. Our debt is real, and the debt portion is going to erode our buying power. Now, the bonds we issue for our debt, here's where it gets interesting, why we know we're near a peak economy and why the central banks are doing what they're doing. We are near a peak economy. China has absolutely exploded in building cities. Now, a producer brought a great little theory, could be conspiracy theory type, but why these cities that have nobody in them and why everything is built. I said, well, it's because they're planning for a future empire to rule the world. What I didn't catch, which could be reasonable, is that the elites are going to live in these cities from around the world in China, because that's going to be the epicenter of the future, which I believe that. That's happening. But it's about debt. Our bonds, we issue this debt. Who owns our debt? You see, China and Japan are selling our bonds. Smart. Here's who owns them, a list, and how much. Look at these numbers. Brazil, 300 billion. Ireland, a few hundred billion. All these, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Cayman Islands, 200 billion. Tell me that's not parking. Hong Kong, Belgium, a couple hundred billion. So if no foreigners are really buying, then who's doing, if they're net sellers, who's doing the buying? Who's doing the buying of our bonds? If everything is okay in America, then the traditional people financing our debt, why are they all sellers? And some of those people on the list I read to you, I could almost tell you those are fake parks. Those are valuations that are supposedly have value, and they're printing euros. They're swapping them in currency swaps with dollars. Bonds, the same thing. It's all our trade partners, and we're swapping and swapping back and forth with one another, creating these things, and none of it is really real. Who's really doing the buying? American banks. Very large holders. And they're not doing it on their own fruition, by the way. I know for a fact from people on the inside at the highest levels of some of these banks, they happen to be clients, specifically told me in 2008 how the government forced them to lend out money, And believe me, you better believe they're forcing them to buy these bonds. Almost like kiting checks, they're doing that too. It's the hedge funds, pension funds, banks, mutual funds, other institutions, individual investors, brokerages, brokerage accounts, and there are accounts in U.S. Treasury with huge net buyers. 1.3, God, did you just catch that? 1.36 trillion purchasing of bonds by hedge funds and brokerage accounts. I just thought of something when I read that. I can't even believe it. I'm going to get back to you on this. I have to take a quick break. You want to know how to get yourself protected? I would highly recommend doing it for what's getting ready to come. We don't know when. We do know it's close enough. Get diversified. Check this out. This is a good place to start. There's people, representatives standing by.
Buying power. What does it mean to you and your family? Have you noticed the prices of everything we buy are rising? Goods and services are becoming more expensive, and the money you work so hard for buys less and less and less. If you saved $250,000 in cash in the 1960s, that cash today would be worth approximately the same, $250,000. Yet does it have the same buying power today? No, not even close. Now take that same $250,000 from the 60s saved in silver instead of cash. Today, it would be worth a staggering $4.25 million. Now that's buying power. Protect and preserve your buying power now by rolling over a portion of your IRA into a silver IRA. Use the power of constitutional money silver to protect your standard of living in retirement and maintain the quality of life you are hoping for. The paper dollar you are saving has tremendous challenges ahead, so don't delay. Call Cornerstone Asset Metals now at 888-747-3309. Don't give away your hard-earned savings any longer. Be diversified. Get protected today.